All right, everybody. Uh, Okay. All right, you guys. I know it's kind of not normal time that I would be on here, but I feel like it's Saturday and I have not been on in a couple of days. I might get my number on my episodes wrong. So can't believe it's been like 200, more than 250 episode already. Yeah, I feel like I have more video than subscriber, you guys. This is terrible. Like if this is a business, I would be bankrupt by now. But yeah, I mean, thank goodness I do this for the love for the love of my own investment or whatever. I feel like my own insanity, right? But yeah, so cool. Um. Anyway, so I know most of you probably will watch later. It's Saturday. Obviously, people are going out in the summertime. Bathing in the sun. By now, so it's okay. Like I said, you could have been here watching me, listening to me, but instead you would, go to the beach somewhere. It's okay. That's your missing out. Period. You're missing out. All right. Anyway, sorry. Let me just uh first by saying I don't know how long I'm gonna be here for. So it really depends. I actually have a couple hours, so we will see. I also feel like I don't have much to say, you guys. Like, as far as crypto go, we have a development on the Genius Act. A lot of excitement around that. Now, while I am excited about the Genius Act, the stablecoin bills, and all that stuff, it is still a slippery slope, right? Technically, they could really, track the payments in some way, shape, or form so that eventually, if somebody else come after Trump, would like to use that technology of tracking and punishing you for saying something, right? Again, slippery slope. We don't want that. That's why we need to fight for digital sovereignty. So the next fight would be digital sovereignty. Sovereignty. That if for self custody, you could take your crypto into your own hand if you wanted to. That the bank would not be able to confiscate it, or even the government cannot confiscate it, type thing, right? For those of you who are very uh, digitally inclined to do that, they are allowed to do that, right? Again, just because you have crypto doesn't mean that you are a scammer. Just because you have crypto does not mean that you are, part of some terrorist group, right? That burden of proof is to the, people who accuse people of doing that. So you still have, the safety of the law. The law is if you scam people, you are a criminal. Okay, there you go. So the burden of proof is to the accuser. Okay, that's why we have due process. That's why we have the law to say, hey, as long as you're not harming anyone, uh, or you're not suspected of committing some sort of crime, right? That's why, I mean, it makes no sense to me that not Warren Buffett, sorry. Elizabeth Warren was saying, well, you have no guardrail for the sex trafficker to use it and all that stuff. It's like, uh, first of all, even if there's guardrail, right? You can't just say, oh, you know, like you would be the most um stupid, the most stupid, the stupidest people on earth to use Bitcoin as a transaction for sex trafficking. You cannot do that. Um, because it's trackable. I mean, you could technically, you know, I guess break it up to a million different pieces. But again, if a million different pieces of Bitcoin go into one wallet at this amount of time and consistently, that really a flag for you to be like, yeah, why is this money coming consistently at this moment in time? It's like, again, you could use the trackability of Bitcoin to really, have a reason to have a warrant to check to see if this person is actually, guilty of the crime. So in which case, again, my whole point in saying that is that, let's just say people use cash for committing crime, right? I mean, of course, like cash is the most used to commit crime, because technically you cannot trace cash. So does that mean everyone who have cash are a criminal? Like it's so crazy to me. But again, I think it's the underlining fact that they are in less control of the money supply. That's what scares them the most. And yes, of course, with the debt-based system, they're gonna feel like they have to control everything, right? That's why you see a lot of, these talking heads and big political people. They always talk both sides of their mouth. They don't typically, I guess, understand the free market um, way of life. That it's actually much better to have a free market to let people decide what to put their money in rather than having a group of people who knows exactly where the direction of the whole world is, and then they're just repositioning themselves, right? And what I meant by that, you guys, is that I remember the time when they tell you that Bitcoin is a scam, right? Rat poison. You're gonna lose everything you put your money into. Why would you buy something that is, intangible? You cannot touch it. You cannot whatever, right? And now, you find out that because of this bill, all of the Visa card, MasterCard, and all of those, payment rail are swear by it, right? And honestly, I really think that because the institution back then, there's no law, regulation, security, or any type of clarity on the asset in and of itself, they just tend to kind of steer away from, uh, from something that could risk their paradigm of investing or whatever. And the reason why they stay away, not so much personally. I'm sure personally, I just watched somebody documentary about how not documentary interview about Bitcoin, and people were like, "Yeah, personally, I feel like so and so it's already into Bitcoin personally, but they just couldn't get their board of director to approve it, right? For the actual company's balance sheets to buy Bitcoin, because you need more consensus in that, right? Um, so the whole point is that corporation typically are slow to move, and this is why you have the advantage on, if you invest in Bitcoin and all that stuff. Now I know, listen, it's risky. I'm not saying it's safe through and through, okay? But any type of stock, any type of investment is risky. Even GameStop is risky, okay? Now, I just so happen that the risk and reward ratio is so high that, I mean, not the risk itself, sorry. The risk is low, but the reward is higher than the risk. And so that's why I bet it that way, where Jimmy's going to do well, right? Because how low can it go? It can really go lower, okay? It's not about the actual price in and of itself. It is the balance sheets of the company. Can it carry that particular price at that moment in time? Remember, price of the company is just agreement between two people to buy and sell, right? It just so happened that that agreement is kind of taken, because of AI, because of, high frequency trading, or, whatever um, algorithm that is trading the stock, they take the human emotion away right now, where the sentiment doesn't really cause the price to go up. Again, it's programmed that way, right? Because again, if it goes up in price way too quickly, way too fast, people who hold option would be able to convert into shares, and that shares would be in the hands of the diamond hands people, right? Just look at how Roaring Kitty was able to convert so many shares, right? Just from owning call at the exact moment in time in which it spikes. And when that happened, more and more people is going to be able to convert uh, call option into shares. Many shares, many 100 million of shares. Okay. So this is the reason why they will not ever let it go spike like that. Not to say it won't happen ever. I'm saying that they are using the time in order to accumulate the shares that they needed to go long into it. Okay. Currently, perhaps they're not scared of it quite yet because of, the conservative nature of Ryan Cohen, turning the company around slowly. And so perhaps in their mind, they think that, GameStop have at least 2 or 3 more years to go. So why cover now when we don't know what the company's going to do in the future? So they just don't want to bet that heavily yet. Again, I'm not saying they won't ever make that decision, but when they do make that decision, you want to be ready for it. Okay? So that's the whole point of investing, you guys. Like the risk, if you know that there's risk involved, then, make sure that you know the risk that you're taking. And if you don't, then don't take the risk. Simple, right? If you understand the risk and that, you understand the reward that comes along with it, yeah, more power to you. But anyway, so let's listen into the crypto side of things, because I know, with the Clarity Act and all that stuff, we could still use the NFT marketplace, and it seems like we are kind of, taking that route now, where Push Start Arcade perhaps is going to use crypto payment in some way, shape, or form, but it's seemingly like we're not going to facilitate anything quite yet. And so we're just going to sell the product. How much demand, that's going to be seen later on, okay, based on the blockchain and all that stuff, if they're going to build that platform on a blockchain. Guys, there's so much to be excited about when it comes to blockchain technology. Yes, it's still new to most of the corporation out there, but listen, MasterCard, Visa, they already said it in their statement on X, actually. They said that they have been prepared for the Genius Act, even years before that, to look into the technology in order to leverage the technology in some way. So this is a big win for Visa and all that stuff. Now, I know people are going to be like, well, they're going to take so much market share from Visa and MasterCard. Well, all MasterCard Visa has to do is buy some XRP or XLM or any type of utility token in order to have some of it as a reserve, right? So every corporation is going to want to buy into crypto. Now, whatever crypto, that's remained to be seen, right? Of course, the big one like right now that you see over the news is Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I'm not saying Bitcoin is not going to go higher because of all of these competitive coins out there. What I'm saying is that it will kind of be the slower moving in terms of returns. Okay. So, but hey, you could still make money on Bitcoin if you want to religiously, relentlessly buying consistently every single day, every single week, and then just you know, make sure that you do that consistently. If you were to Google right now, how much, if you were to put $10 a day for every day for the last 10 years into Bitcoin, I know it's highly concentrated. People are going to be like, oh, it's so risky. How do you know it's going to go up this much, right? Fair point, fair point. It might not go up this high because Trump might have been not the president, or, some other, you know, unfortunate series of events that happened where Bitcoin is not at the all-time high right now. So it could happen. But if you were to do that, you would have $2.8 million right now. But you have to do it for 10 years, right? So most people are not consistent enough. They are, or they probably would stop out at $1 million instead of like, oh, you know what? I'm okay with $1 million, which still is a lot of money. Okay. At that case, though, I'm not saying 10 years from now, $1 million might not buy you as much as it is today, if you have $1 million today. So you have to account for inflation as well. So with that, depends on what years, depend on what decade you're in, right? Inflation is going to go up high or lower than some years. But on average, if you go by the official number from Jerome Powell or whatever, is around 2 to 3%. And it seems like right now, 2 to 3% is what the average is going to be. Still, I mean, anything above 2, right? Every 10 years, you're going to lose half of your buying power. Okay. So just keep that in mind. If they keep on doing this and not everyone is aware of it, then Bitcoin's going to continue to go higher. I know MicroStrategy is out there talking about Bitcoin, and I hope people really understand it from that fundamental level. If not, you have 10 more years to go, right? And so you might want to learn it when it becomes more mature than it is today. Like, I would argue any asset class that is $1 trillion or more, you should be at least paying attention to it and not just keep saying it's a scam. Oh, it's institution already own 99.9% of it already. So, like, if they do actually own 99.9% of it, the value of it would collapse, really, because that value is not there. Nobody actually buying and selling. Okay. Now, I think what really happened, though, if you were to look at unusual whale, okay, hold on, you guys, right here. So where are those people coming from? Who would buy or sell, and it happens organically, you guys. People who got in the first time, they probably sell out to the people that are ready to hold the Bitcoin at whatever price that they are. And honestly, you guys, I saw Bitcoin when it was $100. Okay. And I sold Bitcoin. Now, at the time, I didn't have money to invest, so hardly any. But even if I returned like a couple of percentage, I would sell it. See what I mean? But back then, it was like more short-term minded. And so people along the way, if you get 10% out of Bitcoin in 1 year, you'll probably be happy with that because you think it's going to come down further. And so people will sell it to another person that thinks, hey, 10% is not good enough for me. I think it's going to go higher. And so at each and every single price point of Bitcoin, you would always have buyer, a seller, or seller. And it's global. Of course, there are some people who think that it's going to go up, and then they're going to buy it from you. So I feel like the dilution comes from, people buying and selling. Okay, you guys. So I'm going to actually... let me play this one. I'm going to have to... I might need like maybe 10 minutes or so. So let's listen. And this is a So
Protect yourself from rising energy costs without actually buying panels.
anyway, so
Subscribe to solar and a backup battery instead. A lot of homeowners think going solar means a huge upfront investment or complicated maintenance, but with Sunrun, it's different. The Sunrun solar subscription.
Today's video is sponsored by Figure, the largest non-bank home equity loan lender.
Right, I will be back. Let me fast forward. So, I know, sorry. You got it.
So let's dive in.
Yeah, so let's just quickly introduce yourself for those people who don't know you, just so they frame up what we're going to be talking about.
Great. Sandy Call. I'm the head of innovation at Franklin Templeton. And I have been doing thought leadership about the future of the investment and wealth management industries for almost 20 years now. And wrote my first report on tokenization and how it was going to change our entire financial future back in 2017. So it's great to be here with you and seeing the world unfold as we foretold. Very exciting days.
It seems to be all happening all at once.
Yep, that's always our theme, right?
I mean, at every angle, everybody everywhere is approaching this, from stable coins to we're going to have equities on chain. I mean, you've seen this coming, but it's moving really fast suddenly.
Yep. It's very exciting. I mean, I think that we have moved so far beyond this idea of, are these usable technologies? Are these tradable marketplaces? You know, is this some digital scam, right? Those are so far in the past, those days. And I think what we're seeing now is a very institutional marketplace. We've got perpetuals, we've got ETFs, we've got all sorts of prime brokerage opportunities. We've got financing opportunities. We've got an institutional infrastructure. We've got growing sets of institutions participating. And I think that what is starting to really dawn on the broader financial industry is that these are the rails of the future, right? And that this is where we are going to see the industry head. And these days of session-based regional markets with T plus whatever settlement, those days are ending. And so as people are starting to realize that, there is now starting to be this rush to get into the ecosystem in whatever way possible, because people are starting to wake up to the fact that everything is going to change. And the people who have been successful intermediaries in the past are under tremendous threat. And I think that this is where you're starting to see a lot of new entrants come in. You're starting to see new models being explored, and you're starting to get a sense that the traditional firms are starting to rush to catch up. So I think that it's a combination of acceptance, regulatory acceptance with a more friendly U.S. administration, the MiCA laws now in place in Europe, more regulatory clarity coming out of Asia and the Middle East. I think it's a combination of the big financial traditional institutions realizing that there is a massive change about to happen, and they're panicking and really starting to accelerate their pace of entry. And I think that there are a tremendous number of new entrants who get it now, who get that the crossover is going to be between traditional finance and crypto. It's not going to be one or the other. And they are taking advantage of that point of view to really get out there with new models that challenge the orthodoxy of the industry. So I think it is all happening all at once.
Ever wish you could access cash without selling your Bitcoin? Ledn makes that possible. Ledn is the global leader in Bitcoin-backed lending. Since 2018, they've issued over $9 billion in loans, and not a single Satoshi of client funds has ever been lost. Here's what makes a Ledn loan different. With a custodied loan, collateral is not lent out to generate interest. There are no credit checks. Funds in less than 12 hours, no monthly payments, and repay whenever you want with zero penalties. And they just don't talk security, they prove it. Ledn offers proof of reserve reports, verified by a top accounting firm every 6 months. Ledn is 100% focused on doing one thing better than anyone else, giving Bitcoin holders a secure and transparent way to unlock liquidity without selling. Learn more at www.ledn.io. And how do you deal with it without having your hair on fire all day, with prioritizing what you want to do at Franklin Templeton? You know, what are the things that really matter for you guys versus the generalized, everybody's doing something, so it has a feeling of, oh my God, we need to do everything. And what are you focused on? What are the core priorities for you guys right now?
So we've been very lucky, Raul, in that we saw this coming for quite some time, and we have been diligently building out our infrastructure. So I think unlike many other players, we have an infrastructure that has been custom built to operate in this new ecosystem. And the functionality that we have built, I think, positions us to act like a digital native while being a traditional financial firm. And that creates great opportunity, right? So if you think about our priorities are, really using the tokenized money market funds we've created globally, that are available globally, as rewiring the way that collateral works and the way that people can move seamlessly between stablecoins and tokenized money market funds. And then you need to go back to your core principles. Who are you? Right? We are an asset manager. And so this opening up of the real world asset opportunity has really created, I think, a great potential for us to really start to migrate our investment portfolios into these new rails and into these new audiences, and do so in a way that is in line with where the industry is today, which is very personalized, very flexible portfolios, not traditional standard 60-40 portfolios, but really rethinking, what does direct indexing look like in a tokenized world? What does personalized and customized tax optimized solutions look like in a tokenized world? And I think that is where we're going to leapfrog to. I don't think it's going to be individual equities. I don't think it's going to be ETFs. I think it's going to be, how do you use these new rails and new wrappers to create portfolios that really are 21st century portfolios, not 20th century portfolios.
So
guys, this is huge. If you listen to that and you're not really bullish on the crypto aspect of things and thinking that it's still a scam somehow, man, you're missing the whole opportunity here. I'm not saying it's not risky. Think about this. If you have no risk in your life, you would have put your money in Nvidia right now. You would, because everybody's in it, right? It's like, and people are going to be like, ooh, Nvidia is going up, and all that stuff. Okay, but the reason why it's so high, I mean, yes, there's some manipulation in that. However, most people believe that Nvidia is going to go higher even from here because of AI, because of crypto, Bitcoin and all that stuff too. I mean, think about this, okay? Because Nvidia sell crypto mining equipment, and so it's inevitably that crypto, I mean, at least Bitcoin anyway, when Bitcoin go higher, Nvidia, some folks who invest on Nvidia because of that, will think that Nvidia is going to keep going up too. If Bitcoin's doing well, then Nvidia is going to do well, because what chips do you think it's used to mine Bitcoin? And so I'm not saying it will go up forever until the end of time. I'm saying that with the technology there and this new way of getting liquidity everywhere from the whole world here, it's going to scare some people out, to where people are way too safe with their investment. Okay. But that's also opened up to a volatility that, many people might not be able to capture some of that gain from it. People who are risk averse, they're going to just, personalize their portfolio according to whatever, their risk tolerance is. And so there will be people who are underperform, and that's how the market's kind of set up to be. There's a certain percentage of people who will take all of the risk and will reap the reward, most of the reward when it comes to be true, right? So of course, if the vision is wrong, if the assumption is wrong about this particular industry being a successful one in the near future, let's say 5 to 10 years from now, it's still a new asset class, you guys. So of course you're gonna need a lot more studying, a lot more getting people used to using the wallet and all that stuff to customize their own investing portfolio. And so just like you were saying, like you could really customize it to your own liking. And to me, I think that's opened up the opportunity for individual to learn as much as they can about the company that they are investing in, especially for people who, really want to know. But at the same time, like I said, there are people who are, they don't care to manage the money, and they just feel safer to have other people managing their money. They would much rather that person lose 100% of their money than their own, discretion. And so, for some reason, that's less painful for that person to be losing. And I don't know. I feel like for me, I like to have control over my money for sure. And so, but anyway. This is true. Not instantly. I don't know what the comment that you got. But yeah, I feel like again, 10 years from now, 5 years from now, you're gonna see the benefit from blockchain investing, tokenization, and all that stuff. So you're still early. You're still early into the game, even at this price point for Bitcoin, you guys. I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, she thinks it's gonna go to $1 million, $10 million." It's not far fetched, you guys. Go Google right now. How many people in the world owns Bitcoin? And if it says 80%, then yes, it's a high right now. If it says anything less than 20%, you are still early. Okay? So the mass adoption is not even here yet. And guess what? The institution that are filing for, adding Bitcoin right now, they have not even gotten an okay yet. They just put a press out release and say, hey, we're adding Bitcoin. Just because they say we're going to add Bitcoin doesn't mean they're going to buy it at that moment in time today in perpetuity. No, they have to wait for the filing to go through, and then they could buy it. And I really think this is why when GME go to the open up the convertible notes in order to buy Bitcoin, they couldn't make the decision to buy it at that moment in time, even though it would have been a better price point. Don't quote me on this; I might be wrong. But I feel like they probably was waiting for the clarity in order to, hey, can we actually buy it right now without any, penalty or whatever. And so, and perhaps, because Ryan Cohen is very conservative, he might want to test out the water, or perhaps he just want to see how the algorithm react to the news in and of itself. Honestly, you guys, I feel like if you listen to Ryan Cohen interview, this most recent one, and you're still in doubt about this man's ability to manage your money in the company or the company's money, then I don't know what else to say for you to believe in GME. As a company and all that stuff. And think about how the improvement that he's saying, hey, nobody has a crystal ball. I don't know where the future of the company is going to be. All I know is that as long as we make the right choices from here to there, small incremental changes that we see the improvement on the balance sheet in and of itself, even though if it's slow, you are still building something. At least we are profitable. And I hope you catch this one and it sticks with me. Okay? So let's pause a minute. Sorry, I'm kind of sleepy right now, actually. My point here is that when you look at the balance sheets, right, and then see the incremental changes, and it proven throughout, the quarter over quarter, you are improving. And not only that, you have the ability to deploy that capital at moment's notice. He's not saying that he won't deploy that capital. He's just saying that he wants to stay liquid. He wants to stay ready when the opportunity comes. So what can you draw out from that? He's telling you that he doesn't see any other opportunity except Bitcoin at the moment. That says a lot, you guys. So, and then he said it too. He had not made any choices whether to buy more or not buy more. He had not. Okay, so we still have the right to add more or not. Having the company that has that type of optionality, oh man, that in and of itself is a power. It's powerful. Because you're not beholden to anyone. Wall Street, even board of director, yes, you have to vote on it and all that stuff, wait for the filing and all that stuff, right? Full disclosure first before you could act anything. But still though, when you have the structure of the board of director who needs to put some money into the game before they are even, getting rewarded shares and all that stuff. Like Nat Turner has not buy anymore, but he didn't get any share awarded to him yet, right? I don't know, maybe at certain milestone he might be able to, get some free share here, but I say for now, they're not getting rewarded unless they could deliver some value into the company, right? So understand that that's the alignment that Brian Cohen is talking about, where that he's going to treat the company's money as if it's their own, him and 6 other board of director. Okay, and people who are working in corporate sense, right? CFOs, COO, or whatever, whatever operation that you are offering the company, the value that you have brought to the company, you will get rewarded share if you are in the day-to-day operation for the company. See what I mean? So it's not like they're getting people to work for free here, but people who got the share as a reward instead of a salary, you really setting yourself up for success if the company were to successfully deliver whatever, right? Which I have no doubt. Crazy. But anyway, so back to tokenization and all that stuff. That's the next new industry for people to really hone in for, personalization of your portfolio. So, and on top of that, yes, you probably could add NFT and all that stuff. That value is going to be accretive in some way, shape, or form. You could say, well, who would want to buy a JPEG and all that stuff? There are people who buy JPEGs, okay? Whether you think it's money laundering, that's for law enforcement to come after those people who are, using NFT for money laundering for whatever service that they render. But that's not the job of blockchain technology, right? That's the job of law enforcement to be able to trace those type of illicit activity. I mean, law enforcement still could come up with evidences to back up their claim that this person is a criminal, right? And so it's not like, just because a Genius Act right now could technically, assuring this type of technology to the world doesn't mean that it's all bad. Yes, there are some unintended consequences that we might not be able to see, but that's the nature of capitalism, no? Right? You have people who lose and win. You have people who win and lose. But as long as you keep innovating the world moving forward, people who are up top cannot just print the money and, at will. You have to, participate in the economy in some way. That's why, again, I hate stock buyback. And I'm sure Ryan Cohen think the same way about stock buyback. He already tell you how he feels about the dividends. So if you don't hear about that, he's saying that, yes, first of all, if you pay dividend, you're going to have to pay tax on it. And he would much rather use the money that is, if given to shareholder in the form of dividend, it would go to taxes. Then he would much rather use it for the company and expand it. And from within would be much better because then it's not taxable. Right, so he would be able to grow his net worth without having to sell GME ever. So that is also another point that I want to kind of stress too, because it solidifies the fact that he's going to be here for a long time. Okay, he's not planning to sell GME anytime soon. Okay, and so people who are fudding, remember when, they always bring up Bed Bath & Beyond for a reason, because they want you to think that Ryan Cohen is going to dump whatever shares that he has in GME right now and run with the profit. Okay, so people are going to get that narrative and they're going to be like, oh my gosh, terrible. But yeah, this is cool. But anyway, I'm going to let you guys finish this whole segment here. I don't want to play the whole video here. But this segment is pretty cool too. So let's listen in.
Equity wrapped crypto before we got crypto wrapped equities.
Well, we got crypto wrapped ETFs, so maybe that did come first. But yes, you're right. We did not get crypto wrapped equity.
No, we got the other way round. You know what I mean? Because we actually wrapped a bunch of crypto in an ETF.
Yep.
To make it accessible that way around, which is not the way most people would have thought it would have happened. It was like more disruptive than that. It was actually TradFi saying, well, we like it, but we don't want to change yet. So we're going to stick with the ETF side. Do you think that at some point, I guess you're seeing this is a lot of the time you're still having to turn into a fund structure, crypto investments for clients, whether it's the hedge funds that you have internally or whatever it is, or you have to turn it into an equity. Are you yet seeing them saying, how do we do tokens and buy tokens and hold tokens?
Only in venture, right? That's really the only place that I think we're seeing, how do I buy and hold tokens, right? It's very hard right now to get investors' heads around holding the direct tokens. I'm talking institutional investors now. I'm not talking individual investors. But I think that institutions are still not clear on the tokenomics and how they work. I think they're still not clear, or I think that they realize that there's not a lot of clarity and transparency in some protocols in terms of what their tokenomics are and how they operate. And I think that makes it more challenging, right? Not only do you have all the business dynamics that you need to model to determine the attractiveness of an investment, you also need to model these new things called token pools that there's not a lot of legal clarity around what the obligations are there. And sometimes there's not even a lot of clarity around the plans of the issuer themselves on how they're going to deal with the token pool. And then there's the whole community aspect, which they've never had to deal with in an investment before. So I think that it's still a challenge to get these institutions to understand the tokens. What we try and do through our education role is really help them to understand that there has been a reliance on open source protocols in our society for decades now, but we were never able to invest in those protocols. And that if you can get their mind around this idea that a token is not an equity, but a token is a way of sharing ownership of open source code, that starts to help, but that's a big leap for a lot of traditional
And the VC team might get it again, but the general portfolio managers are like, oh, this sounds like too much like early stage technology investing.
Exactly. So I think that we'll get there, but it's much more of an educational hurdle.
See, this is why Bitcoin is misunderstood, right? I'm telling you, People think that Bitcoin is just some vacuum, equity driven type of deal. Even though, yes, globally, if there's a lot of equity in the market, of course, it's going to chase Bitcoin. But that's part of it. However, when you buy Bitcoin, you're buying a piece of the network, a Bitcoin network. That's it. You buy whatever, 1/10 of millionth of, Bitcoin that you are part of that network. And the stronger that network, the more people buying a piece of Bitcoin, the stronger that network. You're consented to use Bitcoin as a mean of exchange. That's the simplest way I could explain Bitcoin to people. It's not so much that, it's worth $100 million or whatever. It doesn't matter what it's worth at that moment in time. How much Bitcoin do you get in your portfolio? How much Bitcoin can you accumulate before that happened, before the rest of the world caught on to, this type of thinking? So it might be another 10, 15 years from now, right? Instead of 5 to 10. But right now, it's an early stage for sure. I'm telling you, you're early. No matter how you slice it, you're early into this. Of course, XRP is one of them as well. There will be a lot more competition to Bitcoin. Bitcoin used to be the king of every single, the king of crypto for the longest time. It's still number one. But the reason being is that perhaps XRP might be more useful than Bitcoin. I'm not saying it's going to take over Bitcoin and all that stuff. Of course, Bitcoin's going to still be at whatever, still be the first mover advantage and all that stuff. So it's really hard to have people de-learn about Bitcoin. You cannot unlearn what you learn about Bitcoin. That's what I'm saying. So it's going to take another 10 years to convince you that Bitcoin is an old technology and we should be looking into other technology in the next 10 years or more, right? So currently it's still new to most people. That's why, Bitcoin is going to, 10x from here. $1 million, obviously, that's what people are thinking. Remember, there's a lot of billionaires out there who cannot own one whole Bitcoin. Because one whole Bitcoin, you are among the 21 million coins out there. So yeah, any amount of Bitcoin, even just half a Bitcoin, will make you a whole bunch in 10, 15 years. You have to have a better time horizon, okay? It's not going to go to $10 million, in a year or so. No, it's going to slowly inching and drop down very fast to scare more people in and out of the stock, so that stock or crypto, so that you would much rather investing in meme coins rather than, the actual Bitcoin in and of itself. So just don't stay distracted. If you're into meme coins and all that stuff, Pepe or whatever the new one now is, just make sure that, you are risking that. You are risking that amount, whatever. And if you don't get to see that amount in your account again, you'll be okay. So just be careful out there. But as far as like the big one, Bitcoin, Ethereum, XRP, XLM, and Flare, all of the utility base, and of course like Algorand, HBAR, all of those blockchain that have council, you think that institutions are not looking into blockchain technology while they're spending time telling you that it is a scam? They have been positioning for this for years, you guys, because they know the writing on the wall. If Trump didn't, okay with this, then the next generation would be most likely to do it. So the longer that they wait for Bitcoin to, do its thing, and guess what? Bitcoin doesn't need Trump to pump it this much. No, Trump just accelerated. I'm sure more and more people who will be younger and younger for the next generation of presidents, I'm sure they would own Bitcoin in their portfolio. Okay, so anyone who's smart enough to figure out what's going on will have Bitcoin in their portfolio. So, actually, Michael Saylor actually was doing an interview where before he put money into Bitcoin, he had someone on his board who already owned Bitcoin in their personal portfolio. So even corporation who have cannot move as fast as an individual investor. So technically, we are at an advantage when it comes to that, because we are so quick to move, right? So quick to make this decision, because if you don't make the decision today, you might miss out on tomorrow type thing. So some deals are like that. Anyway, you guys, I'm so tired for some reason. I might just end it here. But I hope you guys learned something. I know I'm not trying to promote Bitcoin to you guys. Like, I'm sure you've heard Larry Fink and all that stuff, and it's really eye-opening to see that, right? And they're ramping it up that way. The fact that nobody really understand Bitcoin yet, that's your opportunity if you take the time to learn about the network and all that stuff, self-custody and all that. You would understand why people are so adamant about fighting for self-custody. Because with self-custody, right, you know exactly how many Bitcoin you have and how many Bitcoin in circulation, right? But if you hold Bitcoin in Robinhood and some other exchanges, you might not know whether they do actually have Bitcoin or not, on their balance sheets or whatever crypto you're buying into. But just be aware at every turn. Make sure you risk manage yourself and all that stuff. So, yeah. Ethereum also is setting up for the next bull run, because at this moment in time, Ethereum still has not reached its all-time high yet. Bitcoin has. So traditionally, this is what the quote-unquote altcoin season is. And so right now, I trim some of my GME until, Monday, I'm sure. I'm hoping that Ethereum's gonna spike up a little bit, and then I'm coming back to GameStop again. Again, you guys, I do only the amount in which I traded on. So my long-term moon bag still intact, not touch anything with that one. And so what I'm hoping to do is that with this crypto, knowing when to invest, and I feel like with the altcoin season, right, if you time it right, you could really amplify the gain. And what my hope is to buy more shares of GME in the end of it, right? So I'm thinking not until September earnings we might see something moving about. So just be careful, even come Monday, if it gaps up and all that stuff, right? Doesn't mean that it's gonna keep going either. So I don't know. Look, do whatever you want, but I'm like I said, I have a portion in which I will never do anything about it until it reach my price point, which is $1,000 or more. And in the meantime, of course, I'm gonna try to accumulate the trading portion. Whether to get into crypto real quick and then come back to GameStop. I'm risking, of course. This is a risk that I'm willing to take. And even if I'm wrong about whether GME is gonna run Monday or not, I would still be set on my, moonback portion of it. So I just want to be clear, because people think that, gotta do this, you gotta do that. You gotta do what's best for you, for sure. Because, like I said, people have different risk tolerance. People have different way of investing. People have different time horizon too, right? You might need the money right now. And so if people keep telling you to hold, and then you have the opportunity to, get money out of the market for whatever reason, emergency, or whatever, you need it for. Hopefully you need the money when it goes up in price. That's all I'm hoping for you. But if you sell at a loss and you need money, that's why, again, the strategy is to never invest anything that you need the money to for at least 10 years. So if you invest your rent, right, you only have 1 month to make sure that it is going higher. What if it doesn't? What if it's 20% down from when you buy it to? Because you think, oh, let me just use my rent money real quick here. Not recommend that at all. And it's a lot more stress than you put on yourself to do. So rather than that, make sure you have enough for rent. And even if it's just $1 extra from your rent, you could still be ahead, right? You put $1 in and there you go. That's it. No harm, no foul. And so you just do that consistently. Oh, all right, guys. I will let you go. I know I've been kind of gonna take a nap before I go to dinner. Just a little bit. All right, don't panic. You do fine. You'll be fine. And everybody's gonna be fine. All right. See you when I see you.